Ooh.
Rural areas face higher, more severe crime rate than Canadian cities. Statistics Canada. CTV News. It's scary to say the least. Rural areas see higher, more serious. I mean, so of course all the people pushing back in the comments, you wanted Canada to be the crime country of the world, da 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 da. Go kiss Trump's ring again, CTV News. Um, and of course people are questioning it. What the fuck? Come on, fake news. We don't lock our doors and hear gunfire unless it's hunting season. Funny how this wasn't even a topic during the election. I wonder why it is. Because the media wanted liberals in to save their subsidies. Feel bad for folks in the rural areas who are now experiencing the joy of the crime rates that we see in the city. Anyways, I went into that article. Actually, let me click on it. Let's see what comes up. Because they don't say. I'm just waiting for it to show up here. Share this tab instead. It's scary to say the least. Rural areas see higher, more severe crime rate than cities. Stat Canada, and it goes in here talking about the police reported crime rate was 34% higher in rural communities than in urban centers. Right in 2023. That same year, the violent crime rate, which includes homicides, blah blah blah, was 1.7 times higher in rural areas. So you see all these stats here. They don't really get into the detail. They don't really get deep into it. I'm going to show you some deconstruction of it. In 2023, Saskatchewan recorded the highest rural CSI, that's that crime severity index, in the country at 204, followed by Manitoba and Alberta. So this is just like the timing of this article, basically lambasting the prairie provinces for their crime rate. And I don't know how much. The crime's too high everywhere, in my opinion. But
Well, I think part of the problem is that there's just no cops.
Yeah,
this is why Alberta wants to bring in their own police force, because there's just not enough coverage by the RCMP, which are
So they get into like a personal an anecdote here about the Delisle Fire Department got their tools stolen and blah blah blah. Yeah, it's getting bad, right? But that's all they say. They don't really,
Here's the question: where did the thieves come from?
Yeah,
I bet you they came from the city.
So I go to the report that they got the information from, right? The police reported crime rate in the provinces and the CSI, the crime severity index, are consistently higher on a year-over-year basis in rural areas than in urban. So, because what was the feeling you got on the headline from that? That it's increased?
Honestly, I seen that the other day, and I just assumed that would be the case. Because I didn't think of it as a violent crime thing, but because honestly, I was walking around my rural property when I looked at the article, and I was like, yeah, well, it's a lot easier to just steal people's shit out here if they're not home. A violent side of it would surprise me.
But my point is, what was the feeling, the vibe of the headline and the story?
Oh, I was
going
like,
up.
Man, if someone goes in here, I'd shoot him right in the face.
It's going up, right? The crime in the rural areas are going up, right? The prairies are bad, big crime, right? That was the gist of it. Right after the election, right after the separation, they're like, no, the prairies are full of crime, way more than the cities even.
Well, so what my assumption before you get into the numbers, when I read it without going into it, is that just crime is not that high. And anyway, it's like, because I spend my entire existence in the rural areas, and I don't see a lot of crime.
Well, yeah, but put yourself in somebody's shoes that doesn't. That it's a city, like it's somebody that's following the news, reading this, what they're gonna think from the story. That's what I'm trying to get at here. This is manipulation, right?
Well, actually, I shouldn't say any names. Forget I said that. One time we lost a gun in the woods for like a few days. We went back for a few days and had to go looking for it.
Yeah.
And found it. But you know what's funny? Now that you mention it, down by my one duck hunting spot, there's an old safe that's busted open. Wow. But it's not far from the Bow River. So I'm like, I bet you these bastards stole it and took it up the fucking river.
And how did they bash it in with hammers, sledgehammers, or something?
It's too old to tell, but to get it from where you have to hand bomb it from the trucks to where it is it would have been a real thing. It's a lot closer to the river. So it was just in the river and it got washed up in the flood.
So So they're talking about it here in 2023, just under 500,000 incidents of crime were reported by police services in rural areas in the provinces. This represents a rate of 7,300. I'm going to round numbers up here. Incidents for every 100,000 population. So it's all per capita, right? So they're saying 7,300 incidents per 100,000, roughly 1/3 higher than the urban rate. So my issue with it is they're making it seem like this is an increase, like it's getting worse in these areas. Well, I mean, of course, per capita. I mean, look, how many people do you have spread out among, 100-mile radius where I am? It's like what, 100,000 people, if that. And when you look at the cities and the amount of people jammed into the small area, I mean, if they did this per square mile, it would look crazily worse for the cities. But I
All
know
right.
that,
So like Calgary could have like 20 times as many incidents as my whole county.
yeah, exactly. Anyways, the CSI is another way to measure police reported crimes and considers the relative severity of police reported offenses in addition to their volume. See note to readers. Similar to the crime rate, the CSI was 30% higher in rural areas than in urban areas. 99.76 is the two numbers. Huh. So the police reported crime rate is nearly 3 times higher in the north than the south. This is a weird variety and I guess because there's less again, right? There's less people again. So per capita, of course. I mean, if you go to Nunavut, it's probably way more per capita because there's way less people. Differences between the rural and urban, and I'm not saying this is good or justifying anything. I mean, of course, it's terrible all the way around. Between the rural and urban is varied across provinces. As with the crime rate, the largest gaps were observed in the prairie provinces. Alberta, 54% higher in rural areas, Saskatchewan, 44% higher, and Manitoba, 41% higher, because we have the rural areas. The crime rate in northern regions of the provinces, 17,000 per 100,000, was about 3 times higher than in rural southern regions, which was 5,300. So, you know, here's the note to readers. This analysis is based on police reported data from the Uniform Crime Reporting Survey. Several factors can influence police reported statistics. For example, an incident must come to the attention of the police. Differences between police services, such as unavailable resources or departmental priorities, policies, and procedures, can also impact police reported crime. For instance, some police services may use municipal bylaws to deal with minor offenses. So some crimes, such as mischief or disturbing the peace, may be underreported in urban areas. So that's just an interesting little side that, yeah, there's probably some stuff that's not. And I mean, who even reports crimes in the urban areas? I tried to report like bicycle theft and cars breaking into, and it was like, what? You're calling to report a crime? I mean, they treat you like you're a fucking idiot when you try and report a crime. So I mean, I bet you it doesn't even get reported in the cities. That's another factor. I bet you more gets reported in the urban or in the, yeah. So anyways, I wanted to show you also. Here's I gotta stop sharing this and share my PDF. So I went into where they got this report from too, right? The statistics, the characteristics of this. So this is the actual report from police reported crime. I don't know if this is the same thing we went over when we were looking at the crime statistics from 2014 onward or whatever, but this is from 2023. So now it's come out in April 29th, 2025, going back a year or two to 2023. I just want to show you here because after reading all that, it doesn't tell you that. Look at this. Back in 2009, here's your urban police, the light blue, and rural is the dark blue, going back to 2009. Look at this. So you're at 7,500, and then it goes a little bit down, down, down. 2014 starts kind of cruising back up a little bit. Oh, it peaks in 2019 and then down a bit, and now it's heading back up a little bit. But it's just exactly at the same spot it was in 2009. Actually,
Interesting.
the urban is down. Now,
Little
that would be interesting to know why the urban is down, because we all know
the
there's
reason
more.
you talked about because they're like,
Exactly.
"Oh, man, we're not sending anyone out for that."
Exactly.
Up
Exactly.
your bike, buddy.
And here's the violent crime. Like, look at it. It's pretty steady Eddie. I mean, it's sorry, it's up since 2018 in rural a little bit, but it's just barely above what it was like in 2009. So this just is all a bunch of bullshit, right? They're highlighting this thing that's been the same since, like, you could say it's been similar since 2009, and they're making it seem like a big deal. And of course, they break down all this stuff here, urban and I don't think there's any more. I looked for what I wanted to find was the amount. Well, then give me the amount of crime in these provinces, and we'll show you the difference of the actual quantity, not by sparse population, because how many people does Saskatchewan even have if you go by per capita? And then show the amount. But I don't have that, but I do have more on this because I went to something else to show you the where is it? Number of, and then I thought, they could have focused on this, right? So I went into Statistics Canada just to look at some other stuff. This is from 2014 to 2023, number of homicides. Oh, so Alberta's done pretty good. 107 homicides. This is now numbers, not per capita, right? This is the number of homicides in 2014. 2023. How many do you think, what do you think the increase is?
70. Was that number in a year?
Can't look. Yeah, it's a year, like the year 2014, there was 107 homicides in Alberta. Now like 10 years later,
162.
115. So it barely went up.
Went down. Didn't it go down?
No.
Was it 107
So
or
it's been
107?
11. It's been 10 years. This is a 10-year calculation, or not a 10-year survey here. So look at Ontario. Let's just use that for example. If you're talking about how bad crime is, like, okay, then what about Ontario as a province? 156 homicides in 2014 to 262. That's a pretty big increase.
Jesus.
You got almost 100 more homicides per year now.
That's like a 70% increase.
Look at BC. Where's BC? 89 to 123. That's a pretty big increase. I mean, why don't maybe somebody should put this on a graph and say, hey, look at the
went up a fair bit though.
Yeah, Saskatchewan. Well, I mean, they were at 24. Now they're at 59. So
The Indians are all riled up.
That doubled. Saskatchewan's not looking good either, but
that's probably almost all Indians, I bet. I'm allowed to say that. A lot of res on res shit.
Yeah. Huh. So here's the total for Canada, 525, and then it went up to 778. Actually, 2022 was really bad, 882. I mean, look at that, right? That's a pretty damn big, like those should be increases by 5%, 3% increases. That kind of stat should be fairly steady, you'd think. But it jumped from 525 in Canada to 882. Now it's down to 778.
Yeah, 50% increase.
I mean,
not good.
So, CTV, thanks for your fear mongering about rural areas when we're about to separate you